So
Yeah.
if you're watching this podcast, you're handsome, you're a wonderful person, you're a very smart person, and you're in the 0.001% of people for this stuff. Super easy for us to think that this is super saturated. I don't think people understand just how rare this knowledge is. Like I always
Agreed.
tell the story about my dentist said to me, "Hey Jack, you ever heard of this thing called ChatGPT?" I said, "Never heard of it. What is it?"
All right.
You know,
So
she's the
this is
educator on.
yeah, this is straight from the WhatsApp chat with Jack. This is what we talk about when people are
All our
listening.
racy comments are just
A
above
lot of
this.
racy comments. Holy shit. Okay, let me just not scroll any further down because I think it gets
we
rough.
can't.
So this quote, first of all, a recent global snapshot of AI usage highlights just how early adoption still is. Around 84% of the world's population has never used AI at all, while roughly 16% have used free tools. Only a small fraction, about 0.3%, pay for AI services, and an even smaller share, around 0.04%, use it for more advanced
Insane.
tasks like coding. So, I mean, like, I want you to think about the whole we are the 1% type stuff, right? Like you are the 0.04%. Expressed visually, this is the entire population of Earth. Everything in gray is haven't ever used AI. Everything in green is I've used AI, but it's been like the free Google stuff provided in searches or like free ChatGPT. Everything in yellow is I pay around $20 a month for AI, so they're on like the lower plans. And then us privileged folks in red here, actually use coding scaffolds. We use things like Claude Code and so on and so forth. So I mean, like,
oh my gosh, 0.04%.
these are this is the problem here. And do you know how much money there's going to be made in getting the other like 99.9% of humanity using these tools? Like the implementation of AI and the education of AI, like you and I are doing, Jack. This is billions, trillions of dollars.
I agree. 100%. I agree. It's like teaching AI is a good place to be realistically because people need to know and understand this technology and leverage it. It's one of the things I realized in 2017. I've said the story a few times, but it's so freaking crazy. It's worth repeating. Me and a couple of buddies of mine were investing in a couple of things. We had 5 things. We had Dogecoin, which I insisted on. I literally insisted on Dogecoin with Bitcoin. We had Tesla, we had Amazon, and a weapons company. The lowest performer of which on a 5-year time horizon doubled. And everyone knows how Dogecoin did. And it was interesting to me. We ended up selling it and we weren't very, as we would describe as diamond hands. We were called paper hands in 2017. So we went on our learning journey, our growth journey as we do. But what I realized with that is that if you actually look back historically at all of the winning trends, not only is it so obvious in hindsight, it's actually always really obvious in the moment. So when it's 2035 and we're looking back at 2026 and we're saying, man, it's crazy how this AI thing really blew up, right? And how valuable Claude was to learn as a skill. It's not like it's a mystery in 2026. The things that are going to do well are actually really obvious. The difference is those with the will to act on it, as Thanos would say. He said, like, I am the one who believes it, or at least I'm the only one with the will who's going to act on it. So I think when you look back on these trends, bro, as Thanos would kind of, elucidate this kind of point of view, is that it really is obvious. It's not a mystery. So the signals are there. You just have to read them and execute on them.
Yeah. It's really that agency point, which I think we were talking about a lot a couple of months ago. It's like everybody and their mom essentially will have the ability to do this. It's just those that are willing to, I don't even know, like cross like that minimum energetic hurdle or like the minimum cringe hurdle in order to put themselves out there to the point where they can start like actually accumulating wins. Like you would not believe the number of extraordinarily talented people out there that don't do things like, cold call or posts on social media about a thing just because they're worried that like their friends or family might see or hear. They're just worried about embarrassment. So if you're capable of just like crossing that minimum little energetic hurdle of embarrassment, the world is really yours, man.
Don't you think as well that so much of it is accountability? And I realize that winners have high accountability. They have extreme accountability. For example, okay, let's say that you brought a weight loss program for $2,000, right? And you still got some freaking, rings down there 6 weeks later. Some people might be saying, you know what, that program was a scam and I blame the program. I think people with extreme accountability would probably say something like, I should have known better. I should have done more research. Or, you bought a sofa and it collapsed and the sofa's not great. Like we bought a sofa, dude. it's not winning Best Sofa of the Year award at the Sofa of the Year award handouts. And, it's easy to blame things, but if you take that, we should have tested it beforehand, right? Because people with that mindset, they get better. They actually improve. If you have a victim mindset of it's someone else's fault that I'm in the position I don't like, you don't actually improve from that position. You can complain or you can grow. That's your optionality. And it's like, I think growing is obviously the better option, but it's just a little behavioral difference that I've noticed between people who tend to win and people who don't tend to win.
I used to live with Jono Catliff. He's a YouTuber that makes content that's pretty similar to us. So we used to be roommates back in the day. And I say that caveat because I think some people are always like, no fucking way, that's wild, really? But also, he once told me something that was like extraordinarily politically incorrect. And I'm going to share it with you on the pod. I was making no money at the time. I was basically fucking broke. And he was too. We were both like basically panhandling for money at the time. Big dreams and very little to show for it. And then I said something like, the world's so damn unfair. Why can't we make any more money? And then he said something revolutionary. He leaned in conspiratorially to me and said, everybody on planet Earth gets paid what they deserve, including us. And I said, holy shit, you're right. We're not getting paid more because we don't deserve to get paid more. And I think like the second I was like, well, fuck you, man. But also the second that I like internalized that, I was like, holy shit. I mean, like, it's not like a moral judgment, which I think a lot of people immediately take it as. I did the first time I heard it. But if you think about it, it's just like, well, we deserve to get paid in correlation to the value that we provide. And if we're not getting paid enough by our yardstick, we're just probably not providing enough value, or we haven't been doing it for long enough. People genuinely heavily erroneously extrapolate how much work they need to do in order to get whatever result they need, myself included. And that to me was like, it was a major unlock. I didn't really get it until a few months or years later, but I was getting paid nothing because I deserved to be getting paid nothing.
Yeah. The harsh wake-up calls. You're not that valuable.
Yeah.
It's like, cool. Well, time to get freaking valuable then, right? I love that. I love that point of view. It really does. It's like, in a sense, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you take and what you actually go ahead and action. It's like you're just not valuable enough yet, and that's cool. That's completely fine, right? You can learn the skills to get it. But this is all accountability. I remember at university, so we had like my professor said to me, he said, you know what? So in the UK, we have like first class is the best you can get, then a 2-1, then a 2-2. I don't know if it's the same in Canada or not, but yeah, we do. It's a little bit crazy in the UK. And he said, do you know, actually, a lot of the guys get so I think it's 97% of people get at least a 2-1 or higher. So if you want to get like a grad scheme, you've got to get a 2-1. And obviously some degrees are hard and others like medicine, law. So some are more difficult than others. But the detail is, if you actually look at how hard people work, people that get a 2-2 actually work just as hard as people who get the best grades. The only difference is the stuff that they work on. So they still put the hours in, but they didn't actually apply it to the correct fulcrum point. So it wasn't even about how hard you were working. It was about what you were actually working on. And that's the big difference that they just didn't get. And I thought that was really fascinating. But I think a lot of the stuff we take for granted and forget, right? Because you learn it and move on. But Nick, I agree. I think these little mindset shifts make a huge difference.
Yeah, man. It's like, I don't know, at the gym, it's like you have as much muscle as you deserve to have. Or if you're running, it's like your 5K time is what you deserve based off your training. You could say the same thing on any other vein, and people would be like, well, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. You deserve what you've worked for. But the second you start talking about it financially, I find everybody's like, no, that's not true. And obviously it's not true because people can like give others wealth, and then there's nepotism in the world. There's all that stuff, which I understand. But yeah, in general, like I feel like you could take I probably like a bunch of other entrepreneurs that have, made a fair amount of money. You could take away all our wealth. You could drop us on some abandoned island somewhere. We'd disappear for a year and we'd come back. And quite frankly, we'd be in a very similar position, relatively speaking, after that year. And it's just a matter of internalizing like basically like the set of skills that makes you successful in our current economy. It's not a judgment as to like your character more generally, but it is like a certain set of skills that just happen to work really well in this economy. And the big one's accountability.
And I think that like the big takeaway here is this is a hugely inspirational thing, because if you There is, if you push the right buttons and have the right behaviors, you can make it. You can. That was the whole ideology of the American dream, right? Is that you can come and anything is possible. And I like that aspiration thing, and it is, you know.
And neither of
I
us are
can
American.
No, we're not. No, we're not. Not at all. I have an American tank top which I wear, and I feel a little bit American when I wear it now. But I think it's cool. Have you seen the relationship between IQ and earnings?
No.
Isn't that interesting? So it's helpful to a point, but then is diminishing returns at a certain level.
And then it goes down, or
I don't know.
it's just kind of like plateaus.
I'll see if I can find the graph, 'cause it's really
That'd be pretty
fascinating,
interesting.
actually.
Yeah. Because there are some extraordinarily intelligent people that I know, and they're orders of magnitude smarter than the average folk, and then they just don't really make a lot of money. And I think the reason why is because they just get caught up in like theory land, and they're like, well, here's all the reasons why this would work or this wouldn't work, and I already know them all, so I'm not going to do it anyway. Moving on. It's like that really high IQ guy that works at a gas station or something.
Yeah, I think what high IQ people maybe don't understand is that IQ is just part of the. I think I've got this graph right. We'll get Tyler to pull it up so people can have a look at it. But it's really fascinating. But it is even about, like, as long as you hit a threshold level of intelligence, additional IQ points doesn't move the needle. You need to be what is known as diligent. You need to be able to good learning velocity. There's what you know, and there's what you do. One of my favorite fighters right now is a fighter called Ilia Topuria, and he won the flyweight, lightweight belt, and also featherweight. And his philosophy, he actually said this, he's like, there's what you know, and there's what you do. And I couldn't agree more with that. Like, it's like, what did Yoda say, dude? He said, to know and not do is the same as not knowing.
Is that what Yoda says?
Yeah. I believe it. I believe him, dude. He's a trustworthy guy. He's a
little green goblin.
He's a very trustworthy guy.